Good afternoon. I'd like to call the Health and Human Service and Aging Committee to order Wednesday, March 19th. All looks present. Madam Clerk, if we could have a roll call, please.
As a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Ms. Conwell.
Present.
Mr. Sweeney.
Present.
Mr. Castleberry.
Here.
Mr. Schlepper.
Here.
Mr. Hauser.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Madam Clerk, anyone signed in for public comment?
No, Madam Chair, no one has signed in.
Put us down. All right, approval of the minutes. Can we have a motion for the March 5th?
So moved. Second.
Okay, moved by Sweeney, seconded by Castleberry. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Right. Matter referred to committee. Madam Clerk, if you could read the item into the record, please.
Resolution 2025-0100, awarding a total sum not to exceed $10,000 to CHN Housing Partners for the Louise C. Stokes Scholar House Project from the District 9 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Please come up to the mic, turn on the button, and you should see a green light. Welcome. Just as housekeeping, all ARPA items go 3 readings. So hopefully it will be passed out of committee today, and then it will go to the committee of the whole, and it'll be read into the record twice before final passage.
Hi. Good morning. My name is Laura Bustani. I'm the VP of External Affairs at CHN Housing Partners, and with me is our Director of Financial Mobility, Nina Holzer. Just a little bit about CHN. Most of you know us well. We're a 43-year-old housing developer, housing services provider, and residential lender. We were founded in Cleveland to solve the housing problem 43 years ago, so it's what we continue to do. We have a deep relationship with Cuyahoga County, including the creation of a lot of affordable housing like Scholar House, property tax assistance programs, down payment assistance programs, and much more. So we're here because Councilwoman Meredith Turner wanted to make a donation to Scholar House, to the residents of Scholar House, for something we call the Care Corner. So my colleague, Nina, will say a little bit more about that.
Sure thing. And I'm not sure if you guys could see our presentation yet or not.
Please state your name for the record.
Oh, I apologize. Nina Holzer, CHN Housing Partners. Excellent. So we'll advance a few slides. Great. So again, here today to share more
Holzer?
information about our Care Corner.
Can you just move the microphone up a little bit?
I am very tall,
Yes,
so
thank
I
you.
understand. Okay. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. So again, here today to share a little more information about our Care Corner. First, I'm going to do some context setting, a little more information about Scholar House. So what is a Scholar House? A Scholar House seeks to eliminate barriers to support parents in attaining post-secondary education to achieve employment and a family-sustaining wage. Our Louise C. Stokes Scholar House is located on Community College Avenue across from the Tri-C Metro campus. The building is funded primarily through low-income housing tax credits. However, we did secure additional funding, local and state funding, including our Cuyahoga County Home Funds. We started lease up in late 2023, and as of today, the building is fully leased up with 40 families living in the building. So that's 40 parents, and then we have an additional 59 children living in the building, so 99 tenants altogether. So there are several elements that come together to make the building successful. First, stable housing proximate to academic institutions with additional wraparound supports and amenities, including an on-site early learning center, study spaces, a computer lab, a community room, play space, and a food pantry. We receive rental subsidies from CMHA. Again, we have on-site childcare through an early learning center operated by Step Forward. We have academic partnerships with CSU and Tri-C. And then lastly, we have full-time on-site support led by CHN. That includes individual counselings for the families, two-generational enrichment activities, and connections to other services. Our building was named after Louise C. Stokes, the mother of former Mayor Carl Stokes and former U.S. Congressman Louis Stokes. Her legacy and the guiding principles she shared, including the value of hard work, resonate deeply with the mission and vision for the building. On this slide, we have a few slides of pictures. So on this slide, we have some pictures from our groundbreaking on June 15th, 2022. On this next slide, we have some pictures from our ribbon cutting on April 24th with just a note that the Stokes family was present. Here we have some testimonials. I'm not sure if you'd like me to read them. Obviously, they're in front of you from a couple of residents of the building. We also have a video testimonial and interview with one of our residents. And then we'll get to the meat of it. So lastly, our Care Corner, which we're here to seek funding for. The Scholar House Care Corner is an in-house on-site resource for residents of the building. Through the Care Corner, we offer personal hygiene and household products that our residents might urgently need and have difficulty accessing. Additionally, we stock the Care Corner with personal care items that might be of high cost to our residents and might not be covered by WIC or SNAP benefits. ARPA funds will allow us to purchase items such as first aid kits, toiletries, diapers, baby bottles, feminine hygiene products, trash bags, paper towels, so on and so forth. All of those high-cost goods, which we all know are getting increasingly high cost, especially with inflation, that, again, pose a barrier for many of our families. And through our counseling, many of the residents have said that they're both very costly and it's just a huge benefit to be able to drop in between class while they're studying to pick up items that maybe they don't have the paycheck for at the moment. And again, our goal at Scholar House is really to remove those barriers, both big and small, and provide those wraparound supports so that our parents can focus on their families, focus on their education, and transition out of the building to a higher wage and financial stability. So again, this is just another effort for us to remove one of those barriers while they're back in school. And then on our last slide, we have a picture from an event we attended a couple of weeks ago at county headquarters. So we received Care Corner donations from Cuyahoga County employees who are members of the Divine Nine and other historically Black organizations. So we just want to say that we're deeply grateful for those donations and support. They've allowed us to replenish our Care Corner and bring some additional items that residents have been requesting. So again, just want to say thank you to the group that participated in that. And with that, that's the end of my presentation. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, I have a few, but I'll open it up to my colleagues.
I had a couple questions through the chair. First of all, thank you so much for being here. What an incredible organization, and the work that you're doing is really transformative. So thank you so much for that. I was curious about some of the academic support measures. I was a first-generation college student, so this speaks to my heart. I'm curious about what that looks like with CSU and Tri-C and how you articulate that partnership from an educational perspective.
Absolutely. So we have a few different ways that partnership, a few different ways that looks. So we have space on site so that Tri-C or CSU can drop in if they want to have a one-on-one counseling session, academic counseling session with a student on site. We have space there, closed door space that they can use. We're also actively bringing those academic partners into the building for enrichment activities. So I know we've had some conversation with Tri-C around what types of different types of classes that they could offer on site in our community space, how to engage in that self-care, make sure you're still prioritizing your homework, doing what you have to do in order to balance life and work and school. We're also actively promoting opportunities on Tri-C's campus. They've told us, you don't have to be a Tri-C student to participate. And so making sure that students in the building are going across the street, participating in what Tri-C has to offer. We have solid relationships too with counselors in different departments at CSU and Tri-C. So if someone is at risk of being on academic probation, they're reaching out to us proactively to say, hey, things are trending this way. What additional supports can we do? Do you guys have the opportunity to meet with the student, see what's going on? Sometimes it's life, sometimes it's something else, but we're really in lockstep and trying to provide all the support that we can so that we get ahead of those things so that they don't wind up on academic probation and ultimately either leave school or have to pause school.
I just, I just want to add that it was, Scholar House was just an idea, and it wasn't until we kind of had an agreement and sign on the dotted line, not legally, with Tri-C and CSU that we actually started pursuing the development, and it's been a great partnership.
And then just my second question through the chair. What is the typical length of time that families may stay in a unit? Is this, if someone's getting a 2-year degree at Tri-C, are they there for 2 years? What does that look like?
So the goal is that they would be in the building during the length of their academic degree, and then they have an additional 6 months to stay in the building after they graduate. During that 6-month time, we're working with them pretty intensively to say, do you have a job lined up? What is your plan? Do you have housing lined up? If you're going to move out of the neighborhood, do you have school lined up for your kids? But for the most part, most of the students are who enter the building were not at the beginning of their degree. We've had 1 student graduate so far, and we have 2 more students who are getting ready to graduate in the spring.
The building's only been open a little over a year, so we're just at the beginning of that process.
Thank you so much. Again, I worked in academic advising, student success, first-gen students, TRIO. That's kind of always been my professional wheelhouse. This is incredibly transformative work that you're doing, and I think that it's these types of things that move our city and our region forward. So thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Open it up, my colleagues. Councilman Hauser.
I just had through the chair to the speaker, I want to reiterate what my colleague said. I was able to tour Scholar House earlier this year and saw firsthand the great work you guys are doing. So I'm fully supportive of this resolution and would like my name added as a sponsor.
Put mine too. All right. In terms of following up on Councilman Schlepper's questioning, you said 6 months after Tri-C graduation. Do you assist with the residents and their counselors to make sure that they're taking up some kind of educational thing that will produce a job? I know Tri-C has a list of jobs that are ready. Are you assisting them with that? Sometimes you can go to college and really not take something that's focused and into the job market. Are you assisting with that?
We are. So part of that 6-month plan is establishing those goals. If they, housing goals, workforce development, career development goals, family goals, personal goals, so on and so forth. If they are not currently tapping the career services at their university, we would explore a little bit more about the why. And if they feel like they want to look at something that maybe is not available through that career service opportunity at their academic institution, we're connecting them to other workforce development agencies. So really trying to dig in through that counseling session and understand, where are you in that process? Have you started exploring it? Have you done the resume building? And providing that support or connecting them to outside resources.
And where do the children go to school? Is there a school close by?
So, and I do have a breakdown of the ages. So most of the young people in the building, about 39, are under the ages of 5. So we have a solid group that are going to the on-site early learning center at Step Forward. There is another Head Start led by Step Forward right next door that they are graduating to once they are 5, I believe. And then we have some students who are between the ages of 6 and 10. I believe most of them are enrolled in CMSD and going to nearby CMSD schools, but I can get the exact schools if you'd like. I could share that with the group. I just don't have it on hand right now.
I guess my concern is making sure that since there's such little children, that it's easy and accessible to get to education. So the 6 to 10-year-olds, CMSD have transportation for them?
We don't currently have transportation set up. Most of the moms who live in the building do have cars, and they've shared that part of their day is transporting kids to school and then coming back and going across the street, be it to Tri-C or if they're at CSU, going to CSU. We did early on, when they were transitioning into the building, have conversations with Starting Point to make sure that as they were moving into the building, they were selecting a school that was proximate for their kids. Though we did have several moms who said, my kid is already very comfortable at the school that they're at, so I'm just going to continue there for the near future. But again, through their yearly coaching sessions, we're actively having those conversations with them to make sure that it is something that is still working for them. And if ever they attest to, you know, the transportation barrier, whatever might come up that could be an issue with education, we're actively working with them to make sure that they have a game plan so that their kids can stay in school and it's manageable for the family.
Is this Lewis Stokes Scholar House, is this considered a transitional housing model?
It is not. It's a project-based voucher building or project-based PBRA building. So it's not considered transitional housing.
No, they're independent apartments, they're just affordable, and the rental subsidy is provided by the Cuyahoga Metropolitan Housing Authority.
Okay, so that was my next question. How is it funded? How is your annual funding for the Scholar House?
So as any apartment building, affordable or not, it's funded by the rent. So we,
Rent subsidies or anything like that?
the rent subsidy is the voucher from CMHA. And then there's also, the services are quite expensive, as you can imagine. We have the O'Neill Foundation and a few others that have given us good size grants to be able to have an on-site family coach and other supportive services.
Now, specifically, the Care Corner utilization for residents, does it prohibit families to go to other agencies for assistance?
Not
Because
at
I
all.
see it's for residents only to access.
It does not. It's a purely drop-in model, so if mom is working on homework, she's getting dinner ready, she notices that she might not have paper towels, for example, or maybe she's in need of diapers for her kids and doesn't have time to run down to the corner store, which I should say, the closest corner store to the building is
Pretty
on
far.
East 40th.
Yeah, I
I
was
think it's
gonna
like a 15-minute
gonna say
walk
pretty
from the
far.
building. So this is supposed to just create that drop-in so they could run downstairs, grab some diapers, grab paper towels, toilet paper, whatever that may be, and take it back up to their
How is
apartments.
that monitored? Is there someone that's sitting there to let them have access, or do they have open access?
The Care Corner lives in a program manager's office. It's open when she is on site or when the family coach is on site and can open the office. So we monitor it full time as long as they're there, and then we are keeping a log of who is using it and how frequently.
You said the program manager?
Our program manager and our family coach.
So the funding, the ARPA dollars are specifically for the Care Corner, correct?
Correct, for items for the Care Corner. Mhm.
So that's, is that a nonprofit entity that's ran separately?
It's operated by CHN, so the dollars would come to CHN,
CHN.
but would be earmarked specifically for Care Corner items.
Any other questions from Councilman Sweeney?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Ladies, how are you?
Good?
Laura, it's nice seeing you.
Seeing you?
I've been having the privilege of interacting, working with, and partnering with Laura for about 25 years now, way back, maybe 27.
I'm not as young as I look.
She was a sophomore, but with Mayor Michael R. White. And everything she's been part of has been significantly contributing to the community in some fashion. It was on the politics side, or was it on the nonprofit side? And I had the privilege of going to take my tour of CHN and get to revisit you. But the first page, who is CHN Housing Partners? If you glance over it, you don't really appreciate it as much as serves over 60,000 annually, right? Owns 2,500 units, 7,100 homes, 32. It's an operation that just is a quiet champion that does so much good.
We really appreciate that. We really appreciate that. And you know, it's a little bit personal to me. I've been at CHN for 8 years, and before then, I was an external consultant to the organization, and before that, I worked for the city. But CHN is always called on to do the hard things, and we're very proud of that. During the pandemic, we ran the rental assistance program for the county and the city combined, and we probably ran a bigger program than many states combined. It was $100 million at the end of the day that we deployed of county dollars and city dollars, served about 31,000 families. So we're extremely proud of what we do in this community, and thank you for bringing that up.
I just wanted to give my reflection, and through the chair, you guys figure it out in the most difficult times. Some other entities might get a little fussy or pout. You're like, what's the reality? This is what we have, how much can we help, and how much we can maximize for the greater good. And this is just another example of a subset, but I didn't want to overlook the mothership, if that's the way to put it. So thank you for letting me go on my soapbox, and I relinquish the floor.
One final question from me. How are the residents elected to reside at Scholar House?
So all residents applied. We looked at their applications on a first-come, first-served basis. In order to qualify for the building, because it is a project-based building, they have to income qualify. Beyond that, they have to be full-time enrolled in a post-secondary education program. Most are pursuing an associate's or bachelor's degree. Beyond that, they have to maintain a 2.0 GPA at minimum throughout their tenancy, maintain that full-time enrollment, and they have to have a child under the age of 18 in the home. Have I missed anything?
And just so you know, we work directly with their educational institutions to verify that their students there and how much time they have left, and that sort of thing. And then, of course, CMHA is involved in the part of the recruitment of the residents that involves getting the voucher requests approved.
So since St. V's is kind of closed up in that area, where is the nearest hospitalization for them? It's almost a well-rounded community where they can walk pretty much. Are they going over to Metro maybe?
I believe so. I'm thinking back on a couple of our most recent counseling sessions where this may have come up. I believe most of them are using services through Metro, but again, we could get that information.
All right. Any questions or anything you'd like to ask of us? As I stated earlier, and Dale's not here, he used to be very good with telling me the date that if everything went well through, for this committee, through the readings, what date it would actually pass, so.
Madam Chair, can I just say one comment? Thank you. I just want to thank you. It's already been covered, but for the most part, I wasn't real familiar with the program. I didn't have the opportunity to tour, but seeing this and seeing the work you're doing to help these people receive an education, obviously when you have a child and it could hamstring you. So hearing about this, it's really great work, and I'm glad you brought this to us today, and I'm proud to support you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Comments? Seeing none, hearing none. Anyone else like to add their name to it? Councilman Sweeney, Castleberry. So the full committee, I'll make a motion to move R2025-0100 to the full council on second reading.
Second.
Moved by Conwell, seconded by Sweeney. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Presentation time.
The next item is a discussion item titled 4D Agreements with Various Providers for Child Support Services from Job and Family Services.
Good afternoon. David Merriman, Director of Health and Human Services. In a second, I'll invite Marcos Cortez and Tiffany Dobbins-Brazen up to make the presentation. First, I just wanted to acknowledge that Council is seeing these agreements annually. This is something we do every year. We're required to do. We have a timeline. And although this is not the first time we've asked to have something passed on first reading and that we've introduced in committee first, we do feel very grateful, one, for council to consider this. I want to acknowledge County Council Vice Chair Conwell for accepting this presentation today and hearing us on what needs to happen. But that being said, we also would just acknowledge this is not the normal order, it's not the normal timeframe, and I take responsibility for us not getting this together to bring it here in the normal course of business. So with that said, I'd like to invite Marcos up and Tiffany to make a presentation on the item.
Good afternoon, Marcos Cortez with Health and Human Services on behalf of the Office of Child Support Services. The Title 4D cooperative agreement contracts are mandated by the ORC and the Ohio Department of Jobs and Family Services regulations in order to specify the services which will be rendered pertaining to the collection of cash child support payments in accordance with applicable child support regulations. These contracts enable the county to recover up to 66% reimbursements of the expenses incurred. These agreements do need approval and signed and dated by March 31st to allow us to request that reimbursement for January, February, and March. Again, Director Tiffany Dobbins-Brazelton is here, as well as the business manager, Richard Weiler, who usually works on these to get them to us so we can process. And they can answer any more specific questions related to those contracts themselves.
Are you guys going to produce something, or we do have 3 new council members. Are you familiar? Can you give just a little background of what these contracts normally do, just for them? These are routine. We have them, I believe, on an annual basis.
They come annually, yes, and they're always usually on this time frame. Needed to be approved by the end of March, signed by the 31st. But Richard Weiler, who can answer more specifically about the contracts.
Yeah, if you can just give them a little overview of Richard, I'd appreciate it.
Good afternoon, Richard Weiler from Child Support. These contracts enable us to use the courts, both domestic court, juvenile court, and the prosecutor's office in helping us collect child support and establish paternity in those various courts. That's the main purpose. If we have any type of enforcement, you know, it can go before them, and you know, they can sanction the party that needs to pay. These agreements, again, allow us to get the federal reimbursement up to 66%, which then comes back to the county. You can see these contracts come up to about $10.5 million, so 66% is significant. The balance of that $10.5 million comes from the HHS levy, and then that in turn reimburses these general fund, court and prosecutor's office 100%. Okay, typically the time frame is we normally get these in a little bit sooner. Typically in the past they've always gone through 2 readings and they're been approved on the 2nd reading for the most part. This year, however, the juvenile court they changed how they were going to work with us, in the fact that we used to have 6 dedicated magistrates to juvenile court that did nothing but child support, but the judges over there decided that it would be more efficient if they had 12 magistrates, and those 12 magistrates would hear the child support and custody issues, okay? So that determined that we need to have different contracts set up than we had in the previous 15 years. The financial manager over at the juvenile court was pretty much by himself, and he had no idea on how to do these. The person who helped me or did them the previous year was left for another position, and he was pretty much by himself, and he lost like 2 main people underneath him. So this year, okay, I tried to start early, okay? December 3rd, I got domestic relations budget, okay? Which starts the process, I review it, then I for it, I get information, and then in turn, it gets sent to the state for their review. They do a review of that, and sometimes it may take a week or so or more 2 weeks they had, and the state had a new person in the contracting department as a supervisor, so there was some training there. The prosecutor's contract I got around the 11th of December, and that one was probably ready to go. It was sent to the state. Both of those were sent to the state in December. However, with juvenile court, I did not get the final. They went from like 2 contracts, one to collect cash and one for the magistrate services, to 3 contracts, one to collect cash, one for their clerking office, and one for the magistrate services. And I did not get that final contract or budget from them until like January 31st, okay? Typically would have been before that. Then it was sent to the state, and it looks like we got approval because I had talked to the state personally and know the people down there. I've been doing it so many years. Got them to turn it around rather quickly, so by February 4th, they had approved the juvenile contracts for signatures. So then I went around, got signatures, and turned everything over to our contracting department around January. Actually, it was February was when the state approved the magistrates' contracts. It's like February 24th, okay? And so then it went to the contracting department around February 14th, so.
Any questions from my colleagues? Councilman Schlepper.
I had a question, yes, through the chair. And again, just to educate myself. So looking at these 5 agreements, and I'm noticing similarities and differences in terms of, you know, they all seem to fall under common pleas, the Court of Common Pleas, but some are juvenile court clerk's office, domestic relations, cashier's department. Are each of these responsible for enforcement, or is each one of these a step in the enforcement process?
Okay, the courts, of course, are, the magistrates would be part of the enforcement. The clerking is just a part of the process of, you know, getting the paperwork done and filed and everything. And the cashiers just simply collect cash that, you know, it's just another vehicle instead of people having it taken out of their pay. If they don't have a wage order, then, you know, they can come in and pay cash or send a check to the state. They can also pay by credit card now to the state. So, I mean, it's our volume in, you know, the cashiers of money coming in has gone down substantially. I mean, we used to just have the treasurer's office. We no longer have the treasurer's office as of this year, just because the volume has gone down so drastically.
Okay, when you state, Mr. Wiley, that this went down, the traffic, meaning, are we having families that are behind in payments or just find other methods?
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Tiffany Dobbins Brazelton, Director of Office of Child Support Services, and thank you for hearing us today. So to answer your question, we don't have a direct correlation to suggest that payments decreasing is affiliated with the traffic coming in. To be honest with you, ever since the pandemic, things have decreased even more so. It probably decreased in some areas, some of the organizations that we were collecting through prior to that, but it really took a dip after that. We saw a high increase in collections because of stimulus payments during the pandemic as well, but subsequent to that, it's just decreased. We don't really know why, but they do come in, our clients come in to make payments for different reasons. They could have to make a cash payment, not only if they don't have an automatic deduction from a wage withholding. So I wanted to clarify that. But at the location at the treasurer's office, there was definitely a decline over several years. So we don't have that contract anymore, but we like to keep our accessibility open. So we still have the other places in contact, just in case. Okay,
and so
and we're going to look at doing better marketing to let people know, to let the community know how you can make payments. So that's something we're working on in 2025.
So, Director, the money that's initiated in this agreement pays for the administrative cost.
Correct.
Any other questions? Councilman Hauser.
And again, forgive my newness. So, are there any kind of like metrics to show that these contracts are working, or do we just renew these contracts year after year? Is there any, that's my first question. And then have we done anything to help families or parents overcome different like barriers when it comes to child support and being able to pay?
Sorry, I'm going to try to take the first one. So when you talk about us measuring, they have to be 4D cases. So you have to have a signed application, and that's something we go through every year when we're talking to the courts about child support is a Title 4D service. So there are services that we have to provide, whether or not you sign the 4D application, but there are other services that you are entitled to once we have the application, and it also makes the payments reimbursable to the courts and to the prosecutors only if it is a 4D case. Does that make sense?
But yeah.
Okay. So we do make sure, and actually to your question, we are going to hunker down. I was just talking about that the other day because we don't necessarily have a foolproof checks and balances in terms of making sure every case that we're reimbursing for has been 4D and how to be accurate on that. So that is something that my office will be working on. But I think we're getting tools, better tools in place to be able to do that. And some of it, we don't have easy tools in play, but we need to do a better job of that. So I hope that answers.
For the most part, please keep us updated on your updates
Okay,
and outcomes.
will do.
Thank you.
And then your second question was, do we have things in place to overcome?
Barriers around child support.
Okay,
for-
so over the years, we have worked in Cuyahoga County to try to participate in like grant work. So I was talking about us being a Title 4D agency. So that means it only allows us to follow certain things statutorily. And there are a lot of things that we can't do, such as workforce, because we do not get reimbursed for that. So we do not have authorization, if you will, to do that. So we have come up with other ways that we work. We may work a lot of times in conjunction with our JFS partner, or if we sign up for a grant, we have had, and forgive me because the titles of the grants slip me right now, but where we may be in partnership with like Tri-C, where it's an educational component that leads to career paths and career development and things like that. So we do try to stay engaged. We are, for the past several years, working on trying to meet people where they are or identifying barriers and how can we connect you to better services. So if we take punitive measures, that's a long road before somebody has not connected with us or whatnot. So that is one thing I can say in our county we definitely do prior to taking punitive measures. We want you to communicate with us. Like I said, we're working on opening up access to us so people can access us in easier ways, in different ways. So we also right now have a SAVES grant that we're working on that's called Safe Access for Victims' Economic Security. And that is mostly working on like domestic violence situations and for those families to have a right to collect child support and safely do so.
That sounds excellent. I appreciate the update. I'm going to look into some of these grants that you mentioned. And again, please just keep us updated, even if it's the next time you guys need this contract renewed, if we can learn some of the progress you guys have done in your office, that'd be great.
Will do. Thank you. And I do want to clarify, a lot of the grants we work on are through the state office. So our county is usually one to raise our hand and sign on to get involved for those reasons that I identified. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, seeing none. So I guess we're not making a motion. This is kind of unique in how we're doing this. We were just hearing a discussion, so we would be updated. I believe it will be on the council agenda next Tuesday, first reading suspension. So we just wanted to make sure that the committee fully understood the heft of these agreements and the importance of it. So anything else you guys would like to share? I'm used to saying motion, and I'm just trying to.
No, again, we appreciate you letting us bring this forward today.
Thank you all. All right, any miscellaneous business from my colleagues?
Not today.
Hearing none, seeing none, meeting adjourned.